What are you doing?
Eating.
Breakfast of champions, I see. Alright, so we have a Grand Marquis, and we're going to put a new HD radio in it. So let's get this bad boy out. This is old school Ford, so you just need those cool little Ford tools. The radio slides right out of the dash, hopefully. Come on, man, you can do it. Oh, all right. Well, all right, let's talk about these real quick, because this is a real common thing. This is the standard plug that Fords are gonna have. Most Fords have this. For this model year, it's the big gray plug. Then you have these two other plugs. This one here can be a multitude of things. This can be the Sirius XM. On newer Fords that still have this plug, this is the data wire. This is what controls the interface with the car. This is also where your auxiliary would be if you had an auxiliary. The third one here, this is the subwoofer plug. This is what allows you to retain the factory subwoofer. So if you pull out your radio and you just have these two, you're gonna wanna check to make sure that this has accessory wire in it. So plug the plug in that you got and make sure there's a red wire. If there is, you're good. You're not going to need this unless there's an auxiliary somewhere in the car, you know, armrest or top of the dash if you got an F-150. If you have these two, you just have to make sure you get the Ford harness that has the auxiliary for the subwoofer. All right, let's get this wired up and installed. So for this car, since we have the factory subwoofer, we're going to use the BHA1761 in it. Has that standard gray plug and also the subwoofer plug. Now, the problem you run into when hooking up this harness is that the radio only puts out 5 volts to turn on the subwoofer. So if you just hook it up to your radio's remote turn on, you're gonna get a pop when it turns on and when it turns off. You're gonna hear pop, pop. To combat that, there's a couple different ways you can do it. This is a new product from Pac. It's the Volt 3.9. So what it's capable of doing is 3.5, 5, 6, and 9 volts. Just by flicking this little switch on the side. Now, the reason why this is handy is to have in the shop or for a number of reasons. A lot of backup cameras are 6 volt, so you can put it on 6 volt and have it activate those factory backup cameras. In this case, the Ford turn on is 5 volts. We can go ahead and flick it to that. Now, using it this way will eliminate the pop. Now how this gets wired up, because it has 4 wires. So it comes with 2 pages of instructions, and down here on the bottom of each page gives you examples of how you might use it. In this case, it talks about the 5 volt turn on. So you have the radio's remote out. This would be the radio you're adding, gets connected to the blue wire. The red wire is ignition, black wire is ground, and then the red white connects to the amplifier turn on. That's what we're gonna be doing for this one. The other thing too you wanna check is these two right here in the middle of the plug. There's these 2 blue wires. One is an amplifier turn on and one is a power antenna. You want to make sure you plug this into the car and check to see if these wires exist, because if they don't, obviously you don't want to hook them up, but if they do, you want to make sure you do hook them up. So I'm going to give this to Fernando to check that out.
And we don't have nothing in here. No wire.
Alright, so Fernando says there's nothing on those wires, so we're good to go. We can actually just pull these out then. What I like to do is actually remove this red thing on the center and extract these pins. The reason why is because if you're gonna do factory steering wheel control retention, you need 2 wires sometimes. 1 wire for the data, another wire for ground. And most of the time you conveniently have these 2 wires left over, so you can unpin these and put these in the right spot so you can retain your steering wheel functions without having to cut any of the factory wiring. The other thing too, while we're at it, is see how this has dual RCAs and dual remote turn-ons? Some cars use this, some cars don't. I'm gonna give this back to Fernando and he can tell me which one of these we're actually gonna need. All right, so in this case, it's the top one we're gonna be using, so we can just remove the bottom one if we want. There again, you can just extract the wires. Now what we wanna do is hook this guy up. To do that, I like to put it a little bit farther down in the harness instead of putting it all right here. We're just gonna connect the accessory first. We'll connect power, and then we'll have these to connect to our radio. Okay, so now we have it hooked on. The only wire we have left to hook up is the remote turn on from our aftermarket radio. So now we're just gonna go ahead and finish this harness and get it in the car. All right, on to the next one. All right, so we have one of the cars in that you guys ask us a ton of questions about. We're not gonna shoot a full video as far as like we normally do. We're gonna put it here in the vlog because it's not the system we would feature in one of those big videos. We're not doing new speakers, none of that stuff here. We're just really doing amps. We're doing a Honda Accord. Now, this one isn't gonna be fair also because this one actually has the factory premium sound system, which is awesome because that means it has a factory amplifier. And when they have a factory amplifier, you don't need any summon devices or anything like that. The radio actually has preamp level outputs. You really only have to solder on some RCAs. So we're gonna walk you through the steps on how to do that. We're gonna show you where the factory amp is so you can check your car to see if it has it. All right, so removing the glove box gives us a really clear view of the factory amplifier, which is this guy right here. To check and see if you have a factory amplifier, you don't have to remove the glove box. All you have to do is remove the black piece of plastic that's right here that hides the air conditioner. Pull that down. You can reach your hand up in here and feel if you have a box here. If you can feel a module there, and it's black and silver, you know, because you can almost see it too, then you have the amp. If you can reach all the way up and touch the top of the dash, you don't have the amp. Now, like this, if you are going to integrate or bypass or do all that, you do want to remove the glove box. It makes this so much easier. And it's fairly simple to do. There's just a couple, you remove the AC piece. This just pops off. You pop off the side piece here. There's a screw here, 3 screws here, and a couple screws holding the glove box, and then the whole glove box comes out. All right, so we've gone ahead and removed the amplifier just to give you a better idea of what it looks like. It has 2 plugs on the end here. It sits in the car basically like this, a couple bolts, loosens and slides right out. So now this gives you an idea. If you have a hole like this, then you don't have the factory amplifier. All right, so another thing is this has ANC, active noise canceling. See that little dot right there in the headliner? That's the dead giveaway. That's the microphone for the rear. The microphone for the front is up in there. The easiest way to bypass it is to pull out either the CD player or the pocket, and see that silver box? There's a gray plug on the back of it. Unplug that. That's it. That's all you gotta do. That'll stop the automatic noise canceling. Won't affect the stereo in any other way. Alright guys, this is going to be a lot of information, and we're going to try to make it as semi-simple as possible. You are going to need a few tools, but what we need to do is figure out. So we have 2 gray plugs here, a small one and a big one. The small one is the line level from the radio, and we know that because it has our twisted pairs. There's a gray pair, and then there's 5 black pair. The 5 black pair are the preamp level outputs from the radio. This has 5-channel preamp, front, rear, left, right, sub. Pretty awesome. We need to do a couple things. One, we need to figure out front, left. We need to figure out all the corners as well as positive and negative. Now, for most of this, you can use a digital multimeter for it, and you're fine. So, for example, we just want to figure out like what is that side, this side. We can use a multimeter for that. So what we want to do is take our meter and set it to AC voltage. Then we want to fade it to, let's say, driver's front 1. And now what we need to do is probe all these wires until we get the one that is actually showing us something on the voltmeter. And that is going to be driver's front. Then write that down, fade it to the other speaker, this one here, and then test the other 5, or the 4 that are left, and see which one gives you numbers. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna get all 4 of them that way. And by process of elimination, you're gonna find the subwoofer. So now that we have our 5 corners figured out, we know what front, rear, left, right, and sub. Now we need to figure out polarity, meaning which one is positive, which one is negative. That's a little bit harder. You're gonna need some tools to do that. You need a way to amplify this signal. You can do it by the amplifier you're putting in. There's several ways to do it, but you just need an amplifier. And what you're gonna do is, for that, we use this little guy here. It's just a little pocket amplifier that has an auxiliary input and 2 speaker outputs. And you're gonna need the polarity checker of some kind, either your phone or this portable one here. And of course, you're gonna need a way to play the polarity sound into the system. Now, the amplifier is gonna amplify the low-level signal coming out of this plug, and then we're going to hook it up to our test speaker here that we've showed you guys how to make. This is just a Ford speaker we've soldered some wires on. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take and we're going to put in our speaker wire to the amplifier, and you hear that popping noise that we always hear. We're gonna test it. So we got green, green, red. So then we know that the color that we're probing is positive and negative. Write that down. For example, for the driver's door, it's green, positive, red, negative. Passenger door is red, positive, green, negative. But by doing this, we can test this. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't have all this equipment. That's why I said if you install the amplifier, you can use the amplifier to test this to make sure that it's correct. Now, you're gonna wanna use a test speaker at the amp, not using one of these speakers, because you still have to figure out which one of these are positive and negative. You know, test speaker at the amp, it's gonna do the same thing that this does. Now, you'd repeat that on all the channels, and then what you're gonna wanna end up with, like in this case, so what we've done is we've gone ahead and soldered on some female RCAs. So we have a set of fronts, we have a set of rears, and we have a sub that's this yellow. It's an oddball. We don't have a cool plug for this, so we didn't cut it off, because at the end of the day, we want to just make sure he can plug the amp in if he wants. But we went ahead and added in the RCAs to it. Now we're just going to tape this harness back up. Once you get your signal taken care of, now you need to move on to the speaker plug, which is the second, the bigger of the 2 plugs. Now for that, a tone generator or a battery, we've showed you guys countless ways how to test speakers. We're just gonna use a tone generator, and what you're gonna do is just go into the harness and probe it. You can write down all your speakers. You probe them all and you find out what speaker's what. So in this case, you're gonna have 2 tweeters, 2 front door speakers, and 2 rear speakers, along with a sub that you're not going to use, so you don't have to worry about that one unless you're re-amplifying the factory subwoofer. That's up to you. Now, once you've done that, you have to check and see if the tweeters have capacitors on them or not. In this case, the easiest way to check is to just pull the tweeter off and look at it. You don't want to do that, then you can use the 9-volt test, which we do have a video showing you how to do that, so we're not going to go into that. But now you know what speaker wire is for which corner of the car. There again, now we have to do polarity. Figure out what is positive, what is negative. There's a couple different ways you can do that. If you're replacing the speakers, you can take the car apart, look at the speaker wires in the door, pop the speaker, which we've showed you how to do with the battery, and then come over here and see if those colors are here. You can also, if they're not, you can also do a continuity test between the wire in the door and this wire here. Or if you have a, in this case, we're not replacing the speaker, so we don't have to pull the doors apart. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use a phase detector. It's a PT9A, which I believe there's a link to in the description. And basically it's this guy here. You've seen it before in the videos. All it does is it creates a popping sound, which you can hear from the back. Now we can take our polarity tester, go back there and test it and see which is positive and negative. If it's red, 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 then we know we have it backwards. We want green, green, green. We're gonna do that to all the speakers in the car. And then we'll write a plus or a minus next to those in our notes so that we know what is positive and what is negative. So for example, let's take a look here. As you can see, it shows you the color and a positive or negative. These are the notes I've taken for the car. And then down here are the notes I've taken for the signal coming out of the amplifier. These tweeters need capacitors because they don't have any. So what you're gonna wanna do is add some 3.3 or 4.7 capacitors to the factory tweeter wires. And then because we're having a 4-channel amp installed, we're gonna go ahead and twist those pairs together. Now we've added quick disconnects to this because they're, again, we wanna be able to just unplug this, put it back to factory, and we're gonna run our amplifiers wires up to here, just plug it in, and so we're making our own plug. So when he's done, we can just unplug all our stuff, plug back in the factory amp, and he's good to go. Alright, so we have the amplifiers in both sides. We've got the car almost back together. What we're gonna go ahead and do now is distortion detection. Alright, so we're gonna check the output of the radio first for clip. You can do that through the amplifier, according to Steve, if you have the gains turned all the way down, which we do. We're gonna play 0 dB through the amp. Go ahead and start turning up the radio, please, Fernando. Alright, we have signal, and we're all the way up. So we have a nice clean signal. Let's check all 4. All right, so the rears are good as well. Now we'll go ahead and set clip on the amplifier. We're gonna go to track 4. All right, let's start turning it up. Turn down to here. All right, let's go to the rears. Okay. So we have the highs amp set. We'll go ahead and do the same on the sub amp. We'll hook it all back up. We'll take a listen. We're on track 1. Volume still up. Okay. All right. Let's go to track 3. Okay. Before we listen to it, we just wanted to make sure we checked polarity because we did have the wires unscrewed from the amplifiers. So we're going to go ahead and do the polarity test right now. So green, green, red. All right, so my side's good. How are you? Good. You want to grab the rears real quick? Awesome. All right, so now we'll go ahead and take a listen to it. Just let me coach ya, show you about my culture. It's a late night show. Well, I can tell you this about this system. It doesn't have a lot of voltage output out of the radio, but that's not a problem at all for this particular car. We could turn the volume all the way up and it doesn't clip. That's impressive. This is one of those rare cars that is like a perfect storm. And I can't tell you, I mean, doesn't that sound, it sounds good. It sounds really good. For a factory deck that we just attached some RCAs to and plugged into an amplifier, you would not expect what you're gonna get out of this. So if you have this Honda Accord with the factory amplified system, you're one lucky dude because this thing is gonna sound great. All right, well, we're gonna clean all our stuff out of this, put the headrest back in, and get it to the customer. On to the next one. So we've had a couple questions on the page about steering wheel controls, and particularly steering wheel controls with an RR. Today we're doing the Tundra. I thought since we're flashing the RR module, I'd take the time to show you the steering wheel control setup that you may miss when you're setting this thing up. So let's take a look at that. So right after you do your OEM setup, it says this is your steering wheel here. So what you do is you go over this box and it'll highlight the feature. And then if it's something you don't like for example volume down, you click on it and you turn that off. Come over here, make sure this is set up for Siri. You got answer call, hand call, seek up. So let's see what we got here. Seek up, preset up. Let's see what these are. Display vehicle information, display gauges. The center button is nothing. Quick mode is source, band. So like this button here doesn't do anything. So we can come into here, we can pick something, we can make that mute. So then once we're done, we'll come over to the corner here and we'll click next. And that's how you set those up. Now you can also print a wallet card from there, so that if like you're an installer or something, or you're doing it for a friend and you set it up custom, after you're done flashing the module on step 6, all the way on the right hand side it says print wallet card. So you can print that off so that you can A, have it for yourself, B, give it to the guy you're putting it in for, or just, I don't know, save it for next time when you're doing one so you know what to set it up for. So we just got done flashing the unit, we're headed over, we're gonna have fun with this Tundra today. Oh my god, it's another monster truck. Look at that thing.
Yes, look at the tires.
It's like a skateboard. I love the green though.
Look at this.
You can almost walk under the mirror. Wow. We get the big truck.
Just for me.
Alright, let's get this thing set up and we'll talk about it some more. So the plan for the truck is this. We're going to go with some Focal integration 6x9s in the door, coaxials in the rear. These are the separates, so we'll put the tweeter up in the dash and the factory locations. We're going to add a Prime 404 amplifier to it, along with the NEX 4200. Now, he's already got an existing amplifier that someone else installed, which is a Prime 501. We're gonna move that from there to under the seat. They just drilled it to the back wall there, so we'll have to put some silicone on the holes. The Punch 4 channel is gonna go underneath this seat, mainly because this guy right here is the factory amplifier. We're gonna get this out and take a look at that. So we've gone ahead and unbolted the factory amplifier, and what we've done is we've plugged in the 2 RCAs. One of them is on the front dash speaker, the other one is on the front door speaker. And what I wanted to show you here is the sound that's coming out of this factory stereo. So what we're looking at here is the driver's door speaker and the dash speaker. If you notice at 3.15, they both pretty much dip off. That's where the hole is if you're trying to sum these two, keeping that factory radio. That's also, I feel, why most people find the stereo just kind of lacking in sound quality. I think that's the main reason why this Toyota system just is so unpleasing for most people, and why they're willing to replace this nice deck here, is that it just sounds so bad. So let's take a real quick look at the kit. It's the Metra 998252. Comes with a pocket for a single din. Comes with some clips. Comes with a couple screws. Comes with the side brackets. The reason why this kit's so sexy is it comes matched. So it has the brushed look that the factory radio has. So here's the factory radio, and here's the kit. Pretty nice. Alright, so this is the kit built. Now, metric kits are usually a little bit bigger than the face of the radio, so you have gaps, unlike the pack kits. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. To fill those, we use black weather stripping. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. You put a run on the bottom, on the top. It adds just a little bit of thickness so that you can't see into the dash. Slide this back over and you're good to go. Line up your gaps. Now this kit has the V-cuts in them, so you're going to want to use the V-cut screw, not the flat screw. Alright, so there you go. That's what this bad boy looks like in the dash. Nice and shiny, shiny, shiny. It all matches up, looks really good. So we have our harness. Like always, we're going to go ahead and figure out which pieces we need. We're going to go ahead and plug it all in. make sure we have everything. Okay, so this all plugs in. Now we have this gray one here. The gray one is the USB, so we can retain that. This big white one is the antenna adapter, which we have sitting on the bench. And then this guy here, there's two more. You have a satellite antenna as well as a GPS. If you want to retain these, iData also makes an adapter for those as well. We don't need them for this because he doesn't want to do Sirius XM and the unit doesn't have a GPS antenna. The one thing that you can't retain is your factory mic. You have to run your own mic. Now the other day we talked about this data connection here and how some cars have the data and the aux. This is an example of a car that just has data, no aux. So just thought I'd show you that. Now we're taking out these speaker wires because he's not using deck power for anything. So we'll just go ahead and remove them. You guys have seen me wire up plenty of harnesses. Let's go over to the truck, I wanna show you something. So back at the beginning of the video, we showed you where the amp was mounted. We're moving it from there to underneath the seat. Let me show you that mount, because it's kind of special. Underneath the seat has this air conditioner here. So if you just put a flat piece of plastic on it, you're gonna, it's not gonna blow air out. Not that it does much good anyways, but what we're doing is we made this piece here, see how it has these cool risers on it? So now this is gonna sit just like that. The airflow is not gonna be restricted. It's only gonna come up about a ½ inch over from where it is now. The amp will sit on it like that, and you'll be good to go. You'll still have this airflow here out to cool the little toes of whoever's in the back seat. So let's take this over and we'll watch Fernando wire this up. The nice thing about this is that these harnesses, this one in particular, is this 1761 Toyota harness. This is the harness that has the front door mid-base on it. So for that, we just need a 1761 harness. We can just plug it in and we're good. Now we went ahead and removed all the extra wire because we don't need those. This harness is like a 1761, but it's got one extra row of clips. Pull all the wires out of this harness. The whites, the power, the ground, all that stuff out, and then take the rear harness, depin that as well, because you need those pins to put back in here. So what we've done for that, it was actually taken the 1761, we've cut it in half, plugged it in, taped it off, put some hot glue on it to fill in the void, and now we're gonna put some shrink wrap around that just to make it extra tight. But now we have, we've made our own harness to go into the factory harness, so we don't have to cut all these wires. Now, the first two here are gonna be the tweeters for the dash. These are going to be the rears. The colors are backwards, so as you can see, like the 1761 typically goes gray-white. This is actually white-gray. Fortunately, the positive and negatives stay the same. And then on the other side is going to be your start with green and do purple. So if you guys have one of these and you're trying to do it, this is what you can do. And then you have two plugs. You don't have to cut these. We're going to do the Focal integration series, and though we have a really good video on these, for those of you that aren't familiar with them, let's just take a quick look and what makes these guys so special. Toyota doesn't use a standard size speaker in their car. Most car manufacturers don't anymore. Well, the integration series comes factory fit, meaning it's actually built just like the factory speaker, all the way down to the back baffles matching the factory baffles. So these are really nice. They bolt right in on most Toyotas. in the box here, other than a lot of filler, if your speakers are riveted in, they give you the rivet. They also give you 2 tweeters. There's nice caps on these to protect them because they're metal. They're real magnetic too, so keep the cap on it until the very end because a screw loves to just go and stick to it and it'll destroy the speaker. I only speak from experience, people. So next is the parts bag. Depending on what kind of system it is, some Toyotas use this guy here. This is a 4-pin adapter to 2-pin. If it just has standard Toyota adapters, it comes with 2 of those. It comes with standard tweeter adapter here or speaker adapter. And it also comes with a converter so you can mount the tweeter up in the factory location. For those of you that have the 6.5s, they also make a 6.5-inch version. Now both of these, the 6x9s and the 6.5, come in coaxials like these, as well as separates. But here's the 6.5, there again, has a cool little cover onto the tweeter. Make sure you remove it before you're done, but I would wait until you're done to remove it. And then of course it comes with the rivets, as well as the speaker plug, so it just clicks right in. Okay, so we have everything in the dash. We have our 4-channel RCAs, our sub RCAs. We have the iDatalink harness plugged into the car. Now we just need to plug it into the radio and then plug it into itself. So let's go ahead and get that done. User tip, anytime you have to do dual USA, make sure you label them, which one is 1 and which one is 2. That way if you ever have to service the radio, you know. Alright, so we just tested everything like we normally do. Now we're going to go ahead and slide it up and then start the audio testing. Alright, so the gains are set. We got a bunch more testing to do. Let's get to it. You guys know the ticking sound. That means it's polarity test time. Remember, you just want them all to go the same way. So you either want green, green, red, or red, red, green. It really doesn't matter, just so every speaker is moving the same direction. All right, so we're good. They're all moving here. Fernando just tested the other ones. One tip, if you have to do, like if you're doing the tweeters in the dash and it's really hard, try putting a towel, like putting your hand underneath, like here, like this. Try putting like a towel to where this is the dash and then doing it. That way it's not reflecting off of the window. That's what we do when we're having a hard time trying to read. We just grab one of our towels, put it up underneath there, and that seems to solve that issue. Since we're doing a Pioneer, that can only mean one thing. What does that mean, Fernando?
Auto EQ.
Alright, so we went ahead and mounted both fuse holders, so we got that all looking nice and pretty. It's bolted to the front here. Let's take a look at the amplifiers. So here we go. Here's the 4-channel mounted up underneath the passenger seat. So a quick view of the amplifier with that slit. This is the passenger side one, so you still have that room for that air to come out underneath. And here is the monoblock, newly located underneath the driver's seat. So here's the slit on this side. So the dash kit with the silver looks really sharp, matches the factory really well. All right, so we got this one done. We've got it all tuned up. One of you guys had asked me how to hook up the bypass using a Maestro harness. We did film it for a quick tip Q&A video that we're gonna put up Monday. So if you're watching this on Sunday night or Monday, it'll be up. We just wanted it to be a standalone video because we knew that more people would wanna know that. Oh, I just can't wait to hear what this one is. What are we doing, Fernando?
After a good system, another good system.
Yeah, what is this one getting?
Radio.
Oh, all right.
We done. Okay, so Dean is demo the Toyota right now, and we have a Honda CR-V for a radio CD player. So let's go and do that one.
All right, guys, that's it for Friday. We'll see you in the AM.
You know what?
What?
We can walk over there.
What are we doing today, Fernando?
We have a 300.
Yeah.
300.
We have 300 of them. All right, so to start the day off on this beautiful Saturday, putting in this guy right here. He needs a new CD player. His is broke, so he's getting the new Pioneer CD player with Siri Eyes Free. They have iPhones. They're really excited about that feature. Let's get this thing banged out. All right, this one's done. On to the next one. Oh, and this isn't a 300. It's a Sebring.
It's the same.
This guy, I swear.
Same.
So next up is this GM pickup. This one's a GMC, same as the Chevy. We're putting a radio in it. What we're gonna show you how to do is make room for all those wires in the dash. Let's get to it. So once you have the factory radio out and you're like, man, I'm just gonna put my new radio in. Well, this stuff here kind of makes it harder than it needs to be. So what we typically do is remove this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk you through the process we use to make room in these dashes. So I've gone ahead and removed this area here, making sure to check behind it so you don't accidentally like cut into this or anything like that. If you're gonna put in an amp, sometimes it's nice to cut this. Gives you a little bit more room to run the wires up. So one other thing about this truck is that it has the Bose stereo. And now anytime you hook up one of these cool adapters, these particular ones that are just for data and not sound don't take in consideration the Bose. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna plug these RCAs in the back of your radio and you're either gonna get noise, you're gonna get pop, you're gonna get weird sounds. So the easiest way we've found is to just add some SNI1 noise filters to it, and that eliminates all that stuff and it doesn't affect the way the car sounds as far as adversely, it doesn't make it sound bad. All right, this one's done. So we have an SC430, and what happens in these is the Mark Levinson 6x9s in the door, they don't last. We've tried a ton of different speakers as far as trying to get it to sound as close to the factory sound as possible because those things are crazy money. And what we've come up with is these guys right here. These are the Phoenix Gold RX69 CTX. It's a fairly inexpensive speaker. That might be the reason why they sound so good, just because they match the factory better? I don't know, but we've tried tons of different speakers in these cars, and these work the best. So join us on our journey as we replace a set of 6x9s in the door of an SC430. So this is what happens to the speaker typically, is that the surround just totally disintegrates and goes away because it's made out of foam. Alright, so the Phoenix Gold mounts up. You can retain all the factory foam and whatnot. It bolts right into the factory mount. You can solder it in. Now the tweeter is not going to play any sound because the sound going to this is just bass. What are we doing?
Replacing the front speakers.
What's that?
Replacing the front speakers.
I got no sound on mine. What do you got on yours?
I got sound.
You got sound? I got no sound. So for this, we put in a pair of the new Kenwood Exelon KFC X174s. You done?
I'm done. Let's go home.
What are we doing?
Amp and subs.
Ow.
Be careful with that.
Ow. So we have a Mercedes-Benz station wagon. He has an old Kenwood monoblock. Yep, monoblock. So we're gonna use this to power two
CVXs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. We're gonna remove the factory subwoofer, make a panel, mount our amp there. We're gonna high level, low level into the factory output here that's powering this. Conveniently, battery is located here. This should be fun. Alright, so this station wagon is done. Awesome.
Alright, so be safe everybody. Happy 4th of July.
And we'll see you guys, well, when we get back. You guys be good. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Have a good time. Whatever. We'll see you guys when we see you. Bye.